All right, looks like it's recording. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Ron Tweedy with Pops Collection, and we got Pops here, and we wanted to
What's
share
up?
our first impressions of Wonder Woman 1984. So, we both did just finish seeing it in the past 24 hours. And so, we just wanted to give our listeners a kind of a hot take with what our first impressions were, and whether it's worth either going to try to track down a movie theater to go see it, or paying the $14.99 to sign up for HBO Max to watch it for the next 30 days or so. So, again, welcome. I think what we'll do is we'll first talk about the movie in generalities. We won't go into spoilers until a little bit later on, and for a few minutes. So, if anybody wants to see it without being spoiled, and just get our recommendations and our just takes on it. Before that, we'll do that, and then we'll have a spoiler warning before we go ahead and talk about that stuff. Does that sound good?
Well, I'll tell you what, it does sound good to me, but I can't promise that I'm going to not blurt out something. It's not like a recording where we can cut something out, since we're doing it live, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll do our best to just kind of maybe take the
Yes,
first few minutes, right? Does that make sense?
it makes sense to me. And if you can catch me if I
Okay.
start to say something wrong, like zip it
Okay.
or something.
All right.
But yeah, so we can watch this for 30 days, huh?
Right. Yeah. Then it leaves HBO Max. I'm assuming that it will have a clear delineation before it goes out on DVD, and then it gets added to the official collection for your collection. So
Oh, I cannot wait. I am going to say this to our listeners that if you, it would be worth going to the movie theater if you chose to do that.
yeah,
But it would also be worth getting HBO Max to see it too.
yeah. And I think that was one thing that for us it was better for us to do it that way, because the movie is pretty long, about 2.5 hours. And I know that from some folks apparently on social media, that was one of the main complaints, is that it was a long film and some of the plot points were dragging. Not to get into anything specifically, but there's some people said that. For me, having the option to pause, take a little break, or tend to whatever we had to do, was actually very helpful for us to enjoy the movie better. So that would be my particular take on that.
Well, I mean, because really, I mean, how many times do you go to the movie theater and you run out of popcorn?
Right,
And then you have to do rock, paper, scissors to see who's going to go, you
right,
know? And because you really never do know in a movie if there is going to be a part that's drug out a little bit. I can recall when we went to go see Endgame,
right.
and there was an older couple like us there that said, "Oh, yeah, if you need to go to the bathroom or anything, you can go when they show Hulk at the restaurant."
Yeah,
And I was like, well, okay, but how can you control when you have an issue like that or whatever? You really can't.
yeah, that's true. But the other part of it is, yeah, I wouldn't tell people to leave at that point. That's one of the most humorous moments, is when Smart Hulk
Exactly.
and
Yes.
Scott Lang. Of course, we're always Scott Lang fans over here. So anyway, all right. So in your opinion, it's worth it to watch the movie now as opposed to waiting, right?
Oh, yes. If
Yeah,
you could,
yeah,
um, and economically,
right,
the 15.99. How many people in your family?
right,
How much would you have to pay to go to a movie theater?
right. No, that's a
I
good point.
mean, I the only drawback to that is unless you have a 60, 70 foot flat screen,
Yeah,
I think you do miss a little bit of it. There are some scenes in there, and I don't believe that this is a spoiler because if you've seen the teasers, you've seen the um, definite ride the lightning
Oh
scene,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
That's very small. Yeah, that's
And if you could imagine
right.
that on the big screen, I bet I can imagine that in IMAX. I bet that would look really cool in IMAX.
Yeah, that's a
You
good
know?
point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So so we talked about this just a little bit beforehand, and my hot take on this is that DC has managed to release the worst and the best female centric comic book movies in the same year. In my opinion, so far, of everything that we've seen and have wanted to see so far, this is the exact opposite of Birds of Prey. So,
Right.
um,
You like Birds of Prey a whole lot.
yeah, exactly. I liked it like I like a root canal. So,
Wow. Yeah, that good, huh?
so, but yeah, and it's funny. It's funny to me that it is almost the exact opposite message as Birds of Prey, and so yeah. So that's my hot take. What before we get into spoilers, what's your like?
Well, I thought it was a movie that was really relative to the times right now.
Yeah.
Um, I'm going to tell you, I just got finished watching the HBO series Watchmen,
Okay.
and the original Watchmen comic book that came out in the 80s.
Yes.
Uh, it dealt with those particular times, and the way they rehashed it on HBO, it was a Watchmen, would happen 30 years later,
Okay.
if a lot of those things were to go. So
Right.
it was dealt with those times, just like I feel like this particular one, and your mother felt the same way,
Yeah.
that a lot of the things that happened in this movie could actually coincide with what's happening in the world today.
Hmm.
I don't
Interesting.
know if you could concur with that, but
Yeah.
there were some parts towards the end
Yes.
of the movie that could kind of relate to the situations going on today.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that. So takes are yeah definitely go see it. It's a movie that is like I said, in my opinion, the best female centric superhero movie we've seen. I think ever made at this point, and it's also relevant for the time. So that's good. All right. So that's the spoiler free part of this. So if you are going to watch the film and you don't want to be spoiled, this is where you sign off. Goodbye and God bless. And for those of you who don't care about spoilers, let's or who've already seen it, let's go ahead and talk about kind of the meat of the film.
Okay. Well, I wanted to ask you, do you think how do you feel about the villain in this film?
Depends on which villain. So we got both Kristen Wiig as Cheetah, and then we have Pedro Pascal as Max Lord. So there's two villains in this film.
Right, but I'm going to say that she's a villainess.
Okay,
So, I would
sure,
class her as a villainess.
sure,
And as I shared before, in most of the animated, uh, especially the Justice League
right.
uh, animated movies, Cheetah is her main villain. Her main
Nemesis.
confrontation
Yeah,
is all Nemesis. Thank you.
yeah, kind of like the Joker is to Batman, right?
Exactly.
Okay,
I think that they all kind of have their
yeah,
villains, so to speak. You
yeah,
know, Flash has the boomerang. Mostly I think is one of his big ones.
mhm.
But Cheetah is mostly a the villainess or arch villain
Yeah.
for Wonder Woman.
I think I think Kristen Wiig did a fantastic job from an acting perspective. She did, she definitely there's this particularly with the 1980s aesthetic. There's a kind of prototypical young woman that gets portrayed a lot in a lot of these period pieces, um, and I think she does that extremely well. She definitely looks like she's a young woman of the 80s, and dresses like it, acts like it, looks like it. It's perfect. I think that she does that very well. Now, I will have to say, as a again a weakness of mine that I might try to address in the near future. I don't know much of the source material between the ongoing thing with Cheetah and Wonder Woman, so I can't really say is it true to the comics? Is it true to the animated stuff? You probably speak more to that. For me, I think for what the film is, that was one thing I think that was missing from the first Wonder Woman film. And a lot of times we see this with a lot of the origin stories for a lot of these heroes. So, for instance, Ant-Man, you have the first villain is Darren Cross, Yellow Jacket. And so it's very similar to kind of like the opposite of Ant-Man with, Iron Man, his first villain was Obadiah Stane, Ironmonger, very similar in nature as well. So it's not uncommon to see that. And I think that's exactly what we get with Cheetah is that she wants to be Wonder Woman or Diana. And so she ends up getting that. And, we talk, it's kind of like the big plot point is this idea about wish fulfillment.
Be
And
careful what you wish for.
yeah, and I think that it was good to have that in there. And I think that she actually portrayed a great job. She, like I said, the acting job was fantastic. And I loved when, she got the wish to be like super powerful and she wanted to be the apex predator. The makeup job that they did for her was really cool. I thought it was,
Oh, yes.
not cartoony. But it was still faithful to the original portrayal. So I liked it a lot.
It was very faithful to the original, even in the animated ones, even though some of them look a little cartoony, others,
Yeah.
they do a very good job. As we spoke about the new Marvel Universe anime that's coming on the animation, it was,
Right.
in some of those, it is quite similar to that.
Yeah.
And like you said, the makeup job was wonderful. It would win Face Off if that was still around,
Very, very well put. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So, what did you think about the storyline itself? Did you think it was, in my opinion, I thought it was, we talked about this, I think, with the Birds of Prey episode in particular, and I think we talked about it generally with the Captain Marvel episode about how I think that a lot of times the female superhero story isn't, it's just kind of like a cheap version of the male superhero story. And for me, I thought that this movie actually was a lot different in that I think they really did try something that was actually uniquely feminine as opposed to a masculine version of or a female version of a masculine superhero story. What are your thoughts around that?
I would agree with that. I think that it really spoke to her heart
Yeah.
and to her feelings, and how she actually, I think that that was her true love in this story. She has this longing,
Hmm.
and that was, think of 1984, and here she was back in World War One, and all
Right.
this time, she has, her heart has been for somebody that she lost a long time ago, and to her, nobody could take his place. So
Right.
how they dealt with that, and how they also dealt with the consequences of you making a wish,
Yeah.
that they talked about, because of the mythology of all that, that this wish machine, I guess I'll call it,
Yeah.
was made by a god,
Right.
but not a good god, almost a god like Loki.
Yes. Very much
Uh,
so.
so I
Yeah.
kind of did the parallel to that
Yeah.
when I saw
Absolutely.
that part of it.
Yeah, and to me, I think that the key moment is at the very end where she's, confronting Maxwell Lord, and he's, kind of dialed into everybody across the world, and she has this speech about the truth, and the truth is enough. The truth is beautiful, and that actually I think was such it was so much a better message than the original Wonder Woman that we talked about, how like, she needed her reason to fight. She fights for love, and it was kind of cheesy. This to me is so much more powerful because a lot of times, and I think this is the biggest lie that is told to women these days, that you can have it all, right? The Maxwell Lord's message is told to women every day that they could have, this super successful, fulfilling career, a family, good marriage, all of that comes together and they literally can have it all. And the answer is, well, if you want, each of those things, one of those other things are going to have to suffer because of the time and effort that's required to make it successful. Right.
Right. And that's the same with anybody in the world.
Right.
You
So,
know, you
and that,
have to be a slave to one or
right. And my point is that like, that is actually that I think that number one is the biggest lie that's told to our women these days. And then that number two, that, life is a series of trade-offs. So yeah, you can have this thing, but it's going to cost you the monkey's paw, as they mentioned it in the film. And to
right.
me, that,
Have you read that book, The Monkey's Paw, that story?
well, I mean, I'm familiar with the story. I haven't actually read the actual story
Okay.
itself. The most relevant way that we interacted with it, they did a Simpsons Treehouse of Horror short on it. So that's my particular context for it, which
Okay.
was always very
Well,
enjoyable and well written. So, but so I think that is such a great way to um, tell the story and have a deeper message to it, and the truth being not a relativistic thing. That's the other thing, is that that the truth is a transcendent thing in this film, that it's not just your truth or my truth or our perception of the truth. It's the truth. And we don't have that a lot in society anymore, which is very refreshing to see as well. So uh in my opinion, like I said, I think this was such a good movie. It's one of the better movies of the DCEU. It's definitely a contender for one of the best ones, I think. And I think that to me is really the pivotal scene in the film at the very end, where we have Dinah's speech about the truth. And
right. Well, she not only she is tempted again by Max Lord
yes,
about, you know, her greatest love.
yes,
And, doesn't she wish she could have that back? And she kind of goes through this part, well, how much she deeply loves him,
right,
but she knows that that was part of the past and that she needs to move on,
right,
you know,
yep,
and you can't live in the past,
right,
and which she has been doing for over 100 years, I think, right?
yeah,
By 84.
hmm,
So, well, maybe not 100 years, but
yeah,
it's been a long time.
right,
Yeah. So, yes, perfect message, uh, very thought provoking. And I think that that message kind of rang with everybody the way that things were going, because there were consequences even for Max Lord
right.
for what he chose to do. Everybody, there was consequences.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. I'm glad you brought that up, because I do think that's something that we don't really talk about a lot, is that a lot of times we could get into situations, and that's kind of what his story is that, he's this, basically he's got a Ponzi scheme at this point. He's trying to stave off investors, and he has this empty, company that, he thought if he just kept up the getting more investors, that he would be okay and kind of stay afloat. And it turns out he didn't. And so the idea about him getting the
Wish
MacGuffin,
machine.
right, the wish
Yeah.
machine, was the way for him to get out of it. And it turns out it's the exact opposite, that it was going to end up taking his entire life. And that's the other thing I thought about, is that, the thing that Jesus says, what is it for a man to gain the whole world but lose his soul? I think that really personifies Max Lord as a character.
It was
Um,
a definite depiction of that, no
right.
question.
And it was and I love that the thing that brought him to his senses was the love for his son, or his son's love for him, actually, which is pretty incredible. So that was an amazing part of the movie as well. So
Well, I think that he needed to see his son looking for him because
yeah,
he had a vision of it,
right,
and to see how much that his son uh, was needed him or wanted him,
yeah,
and his heart started softening for that.
right,
And I think what we see in this, and one of the messages I thought was really good, is that we don't have to pretend or try to be uh, a superhero for the ones we love.
yeah,
You know, that they're the ones we love, and all they want is for us to love them as much as we love as they love us, you
hmm,
know?
sure,
And that's the most important part, and not, how successful we are, how much money we make, or, how high a position we have. Um, you know very well that I changed my whole life from
yeah,
making a lot of money to just living my life on a very small amount of money and raising you and your brothers
yeah,
and your mother
hmm,
with as much love that I could.
yeah.
And we never wanted for anything, I don't think.
I didn't, yeah,
You know,
yeah.
I mean, there were things that we wanted, but
Well, yeah, that's a different thing.
yeah, it's totally different,
Freedom for want is not the same thing as wanting things. Yeah,
Yes,
I agree.
absolutely. So,
All right, cool. What else? Let's talk a little bit about some of the cool things. I really did like I said, I really do dig the '80s aesthetic thing. You know, Stranger Things, and a lot of other things have done this before in the past, and I do think that this is in good company with all of
they
those
did it
things.
real well.
So,
I totally love the rollerblading
yeah,
and the break dancing.
yes, yeah. All right, what about the jet? What do you think
I
about the jet?
loved the jet. The invisible jet was awesome.
Yeah, that was pretty neat.
I thought the way that they portrayed that,
Yeah,
it was just wonderful.
yeah,
The the special effects, you kind of saw the inside of the jet, but
right.
couldn't see them, couldn't see the outside. I mean,
Yeah,
you could see them on the inside, and it
right.
was almost like the comics.
Yeah, yeah, I thought it was pretty neat, and you could definitely tell that the original release date was around the 4th of July because that was kind of a big scene there where they're enjoying the fireworks over DC.
Very good
Um,
special effects on that too.
yeah, that was really fun. And then you had at the very end you had a little bit of a Christmas scene, which was I don't know if that was tacked on at the end of it. It seems like it was because it was now released for December 25th. So
Christmas. I said, wow. I said, Ron's going to have another Christmas movie to watch,
well, see, there's a difference between movies that have a scene that takes place at Christmas versus movies that are set, like the majority of the movie being set during Christmas. So a movie like Batman Returns, you can make the case for, but Wonder Woman, because most of the movie takes place in the summer, I would say is not. So anyway,
Well, that would also be the same with Red then,
yeah, yeah,
because it just has a scene, and a lot of it's in the sun.
yeah. So
So
there you go.
I like that part. Also, what I thought was interesting um, was the way that they depicted the people's clothing.
Yeah,
The guy that Steve turned into,
right, right.
right? And to think that, wow, I can remember back in the 80s, but especially for me, like the platform shoes,
Oh yeah,
because we had leisure suits and
right, right.
real high shoes. So it really did. My pants length of my pants was a lot longer back then than what it is now,
Yeah,
and not because I got shorter.
right.
Yeah.
No, I hear you. What about it? Were there any negatives that you took away from the film?
Um, negatives.
I'll just share one, I think, and then maybe you can, if you think of anything else. But to me, I think the only thing missing from this film was that I do wish that they would have had, and I had to think about a way they actually could have been able to pull this off. But one thing that Marvel always does a good job with is kind of like, giving you a connection to, somebody else in the universe, right? And so what I was thinking about, I was like, okay, well, this is, about 30 years before Clark Kent is of age and starts becoming Superman, right? So there's no way
Correct.
he could have been in
Yes.
there.
No.
Uh, the only thing I thought of that they might have been able to work would be Robert Pattinson, Bruce Wayne, at some point crossing paths with her. That's the only thing I could think of that they could have made work because, obviously older Bruce Wayne wouldn't work as Ben Affleck, but Robert Pattinson as a younger Batman, they might have been able to make that. I think that'd be the only thing I think they could actually do.
Well, maybe, maybe not.
Yeah.
I think more for me would be Martian Manhunter
Okay.
because he's hundreds of years old.
But he's not. He's never been in the DCEU yet. So, see,
No, he
I
has
was
not. You
thinking
would. We
about.
were thinking about getting somebody from the DCU.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Or maybe. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you maybe could have gotten like a. I don't know. The wizard from Shazam. Maybe that's probably about it, though.
There's not a whole lot of
Yeah.
connection that you can put with that.
No, no, and that was the thing I think from a story wise that would be the only thing missing from me. I would have liked to have seen another character to kind of get you excited for the next DCEU film. We did get a teaser at the very end with.
Well, I don't know if you call that a teaser or not.
Yeah, I would say it's I don't know, just a kind of like a little bit of a coda or something like that. I don't know.
Yes.
But yeah, that
And
was.
it was a kind of a fake out in a way.
It was completely unexpected. I mean, I had no idea that they were going to bring back Linda Carter to the DCEU
Right.
as a different character. So,
Right. Well, yes, because Supergirl is considered part of the Arrowverse,
yes,
so it's not part of the DCEU.
right.
And she was in Supergirl,
Yep.
so I'm going to say bringing her in there. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And they gave her a good out for her age.
Yeah.
If she would be part of the next one, she does have her gold outfit.
Yeah,
That is her gold outfit.
Yeah, that was a pretty cool scene with Wonder Woman with the gold armor. I thought that was a really cool thing, especially with the way
fight with Cheetah.
Yeah, especially the way her wings would work, and as kind of like a defensive thing. I thought that was really cool.
Oh yes. Well, another good thing that I thought was the way that they Trevor talked about riding the wind,
Yes.
and those things were spoken as Diana was learning how to do that.
Right.
Because in the Justice League animated stuff, she does that.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna ask that. I didn't know that for sure. I'm sure at some point she did gain the power of flight, but it was that's I don't know if that's consistent or not with.
Well, I think that it was a good explanation of it.
Okay.
It was a good way to throw it in there
Sure.
and make it, to explain it. So
Cool.
I thought that was a good part of it.
Yeah.
There were a couple of spots that were a little lagging, but there wasn't much negative to say about that film.
Yeah, the only thing I would say about that is that I do think that people who are having a problem with the lack of constant action and the time to kind of step back and do more character development, stuff like that, I think people are putting masculine superhero expectations on this film, and they shouldn't do that because this, I think, is, as a female-centric film, you need those breaks to explore characters and get more of relationships developed in order for it to be a good movie. It's not just a constant action thing because there's more to it than just that.
Right, developing the Cheetah character before,
Yes.
and then after.
Right.
the difference is her Max Lord, who being a male, now this kind of is a feminist type thing, a male that's trying to use a female to get what he wants.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, there was that point of it.
Yep.
And then there was also the walk in the park
Right.
and that particular part of it.
Right.
Um, and then a complete 180, but you had to have that to see the development of the character and the change of the character.
Yeah, I agree. So
Yeah. And I thought this movie was all about that, all about change and development, maturing,
yep.
um, how that we can take ourselves and we can really wish for some dumb things.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. And we could even attain those things that we wish for, but at a significant cost to ourselves. Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So I think that's the other important thing. So yeah, that's good. What about the, you mentioned that it was relevant for the times. What is your, why don't you explain that a little bit?
Okay. Well, like I said, towards the end of the movie,
Yeah.
um, everybody was getting what they wanted, but uh, when they would get what they want, they were also losing something.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of the weird thing was the guy, woman had a dog. She was saying, "Hey, let's go. There's a lot of rioting going on."
Right.
And he was saying, "Well, I wish for a farm."
Yeah.
And he said, "I got cows, but I wanted them, on a farm, not here."
Yeah.
So,
that hit a little too close to home for me.
yeah, I thought about you.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was pretty funny.
But there was so much chaos.
Yeah.
And everything. People were getting what they wanted, but they were losing the most important part of themselves.
Yeah.
And I thought that that's kind of the way things are today. We are stuck at home right now. Me and your mom are doing a quarantine thing, and it's driving us a little batty.
Right.
I can say for myself, I don't like it, but. Yeah. And I think that that's happening all around the world right now.
Yeah.
And plus the thing with the police, and then one group trying to defund the police, another group saying that the police are okay. Some of them, talking about, you can only say Black Lives Matter. You can't say that all lives matter.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is that we all are on this earth and we all need to learn to live together. And what's happening right now is nothing but chaos, The same thing with the election.
Yep.
It's what was your mom said she had read something where there was a group of people saying that if the Republicans won, that there was going to be riots, and then there was another group that said that there was going to be riots if the Democrats won. Well, somebody's got to win, and God tells us that we are supposed to be respectful of the authorities that are above and pray for them,
sure.
Whoever it's going to be.
Sure.
We did our duty and voted, but however it comes, we know that we serve our God.
Sure.
And he is the one that is in control, and whatever happens, it'll happen for his purpose. He will turn it the way that he's supposed to turn it for whatever reason that might be,
Yeah. It is interesting. You went that way, and I don't think we should dip too much into the.
No, I didn't want to,
but it is interesting how this movie was like, well, what really matters is the truth, and to me it sounds like there's at least one side saying, hey, can we get down to the truth of what really happened? And
exactly.
There's other folks that don't really want to talk about that. They just want to accept what the reported results are, and that's it. Anyway, food for thought on that. All right.
Yes, it's a shame.
Yeah, well, let's wrap it up. From me. uh, for my perspective, we already talked about this. Yeah, go see it. Absolutely. Have at it. I think, like I said, it is well done. Um, Worth the wait. We waited about 6 months for this thing, and in my opinion, I think that it set a pretty high bar for you know uh, my expectations going in now to Black Widow next year.
Yes,
We'll see
and
what happens.
I feel the same way. I don't know that Black Widow will stand up to it. I'm hoping that it does,
Yeah,
but this was well worth the wait.
yeah,
And I'm going to tell you right now, double five rating.
yeah.
Okay,
Okay, no, that's
and
good.
also the U.
Right.
Okay, definitely double fives for me.
Yeah, I like I said, I think the only thing for me is that they had a connection to another DCEU property. I think would have made it a perfect 10 for me, so I could give it a 9.5. If I was gonna, just give it a rating from that. But yeah, it's really cool. Definitely worth your time. So,
And
um,
I'm going to say that maybe we'll do a podcast when it comes out on DVD.
oh sure, yeah, well, yeah, when we
We'll
revisit
get
the,
more in depth
yeah,
into it.
oh yeah, definitely,
All right, that'd be awesome.
cool. All
I
right,
love it.
any final thoughts or any other last
Go
words?
watch it.
Yeah,
Go watch it. And I'm going to ask that if you want to communicate with us, you can go to our Pops Collection on our website, on Facebook,
yep,
and we have a Twitter. And what else do we have, Ron?
yeah.
We
That
got,
that that should be enough. Yeah, the
okay.
Facebook or Twitter, and we can get back to you that way. And that's it. Yeah, thank you.
Yes,
All
thank
right,
you. I'm
goodbye
going
and
to
God
say
bless, and we'll take it easy.
yes, and God bye, God bless. Tell your friends, okay? Thanks. Bye.
Bye.